संस्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणीं अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। पवित्रं चरितं यस्याः पवित्रं जीवनं तथा पवित्रतास्वरूपिण्यै तस्यै कुर्मो नमो नमः। नमः श्री यतिराजाय विवेकानन्दसूरये सच्चित्सुखस्वरूपाय स्वामिने तापहारिणे। ओम सर्वमंगलमांगल्ये शिवे सर्वार्थसाधिके शरण्ये त्र्यंबके गौरी नारायणी नमोस्तुते। We are into the last chapter of the Karma Yoga, chapter freedom. I think we have to conclude today. Before beginning, last Sunday, I was just referring to Revered Swami Atmasthanandaji Maharaj. There I mentioned about Maharaj inspiration through Swami Jagadanji. And he was cured. He had some illness and he was cured of that illness by Swami. Actually, it is Gadadharanandaji who cured his illness, not Jagadanji. There was a mismatch with respect to names. Now, coming to freedom, Swamiji said we have to transcend time, space and causation, which means transcending mind is transcending time, space and causation. How to go beyond this law of causation? He gave two methods, two ways, two paths. One is of Jnana Yoga, that is Neti Neti Marga, the negative approach towards the world. But rarely few can accomplish that path. Majority have to follow the path of Karma Yoga. That's why he quoted from the Gita, Yastu Atmarati Revasya Tata Atmaratihi, one who delights in Atma. Atmaratihi, Yasya Saha Atmaratihi. Na Visheshu. So, he gave that example of Bhagavad Gita and explained Jnana Yoga. Then he says majority belong to the path of Karma Yoga. And then he started explaining the Karma Yoga as the secret of work. There he mentioned Karma Yoga as the science of work. So how you have to do? Be intensely occupied. But intensely occupied with work means you have to have the idea of non-attachment. Swamiji, that's why Swamiji says, misery comes from attachment but not from work. I am just recapitulating what we had discussed earlier. So misery comes from or comes through attachment but not through the work. Jokingly saying, generally the students who stay in our schools, residential schools and hostels, you have to learn from the many Swami says, you have to learn from those boys. In what way? They may stay in our hostel or in any of the residential education institutions, maybe for 3 years or 5 years or for 2 years. The day, on the last day of their departure, tomorrow, let us say, today they have completed all their examinations. Tomorrow they are leaving our campus. By the moment they come from the examination hall, they go to their respective rooms, pack it so nicely. If they are carrying their bedding also, they will even nicely pack those beds. They will sleep on an empty cot without any bed, are ready to sleep on the floor because next morning they have to leave the campus. So unattached. 5 years we stayed with this Swami, asked us to get up every day at 5 o'clock, not to speak loudly, not to use mobile phone. We cannot watch a movie. Kya hal banaya maine? So, it's in a negative way, but we can take it a positive way. So unattached. 5 years they stay, but no attachment. The day for their departure comes, they are so eager to leave our campus. The very next day, morning 3 o'clock, 3:30, train means 2 baje utke, oh, chala gaya. Many times they not inform the Swami also. A small slip, thank you Swamiji, left him. Jai Ram Krishna, over. It happens in all our education, majority of the education, even in Vidyarthi also. If Swami is too strict, he will make him ask him to stand and do all those things. Majority will not follow that. That's why I remember that misery comes through attachment and not through work. So when I read it, I remembered those boys because they are the very good examples. So we have to take it in a positive way. And Swamiji explained it here. The main problem is the idea of selfishness. So he said, you should not even say my child, possess the child, but never say my child. And he said, even not say my house. And he extended even, he said, even you should not say my body also. Other two things are beyond, means it's something object to our mind. But this itself is a subject. Body itself is, in one sense, it's a subject. But Swamiji says, these bodies are coming and going by the laws of nature. But we are free, standing as witness. This body is no more free than a picture or a wall. Because this body belongs to nature, not to me. Hence, as objects of nature, this is also one of the object. And I being the witness is not the body. So he extends that idea to this extent. And then he said, explained about a little bit of selfishness. If you are not having this part or this ego or selfishness, Swamiji says, then you may go out into the world and work as much as you can, mix everywhere, go where you please. You will never be contaminated with evil. You can mix in the world. We are all afraid to mix in the world. The problem is, through selfishness, we have attachment. Attachment comes because of selfishness. Don't have a limited idea of this selfishness. Anything connected with this body and mind is selfishness only. That's why, of course, later also Swamiji says, even somebody says he withdraws his mind from all this world and builds a hermitage and stay far away in a forest, still he may be attached to his body and his whole day goes in taking care of his body. He may stay in a kutia, all alone, with no work, external work, but still he may be attached because he is attached to the body. Taking care of this becomes his great hurdle, and he is saying all the attachment. That's why, if you see, Swamiji says, if you don't have selfishness, then only you can go to the world and mix with everywhere, can do anything, not contaminated with the evil of the world. To do that, we should be unselfish. Actually, very practically saying, revered Veereshwaranji Maharaj used to say, seems very simple, but it has got a great philosophical value. Whenever a new in-charge to any, suppose one center is there, that Swami got retired or he passed away, a new Swami comes as in-charge. When Maharaj was there, when the posting was done, he used to tell that particular Swami who is going and taking charge of that new center, he used to say, you be a witness in the ashrama. Don't put your tentacle of selfishness anywhere in between. Kal hakbeda. Because generally the center will go on. When this disturbance arrive, when I feel that I should improve this center. Badalna chahte hain hum. So then problem starts. Any center for that matter. So Veereshwaranji Maharaj used to tell any new monto to any particular center, you be there. Don't add anything new. So the center will go on. You be a witness and whatever possible you do. If you have that capacity, it's something else. Some Swamis will have a great capacity. Of course, there are some, it's a rarity. But on a general perception, he used to say, you don't put your leg, in Kannada kaal hakodu. Don't put hurdles on the path towards work. If you don't put hurdles, work will go on smoothly. Don't disturb. That's why this problem is everywhere. It will take a subtler forms as we evolve. First it will be in a grosser area. As we evolve, this ego also will take subtler forms. It has got so many shades. If you, Holy Mother is the best example. To what extent she was unselfish. And if you take, once if you remember Swami Sharanandaji Maharaj, a British officer came to visit Belur Math. He had his shoes on, wearing. So he wanted a stool to remove his shoes. Immediately Sharanandaji went and removed his shoes, keeping his shoe on his thigh. So, if you don't have ego, there is no problem in this world. Everywhere this tentacle, Swamiji says, the tentacle of selfishness. Greatest problem. If you run institutions, you will understand better. Family, you will understand in a limited way. In institutions, you will understand in a larger way, larger scale. Because you have to be with many people, see many people, handle many people. You have to interact with many people day in and day out. Then you can understand, oh, you should be careful this with Swami, this volunteer, this bhakta. Because the tentacle of selfishness will be coming out. We can very well understand. That's why Swamiji says, this question of non-attachment is never in the object nor in the work. Everything is in the mind. That we know, but Swamiji makes it a point to understand. We may do in relation to our external body, it is all in the mind. The linking, the bind. First, we have to attain this state of non-attachment and then work to attain this non-attachment. What is required is unselfishness. Then only after that you can work incessantly. Otherwise, you may be a workaholic, but not a karma yogi. So now, continuing, this was our last Sunday's discussion. Coming to today's, let us begin. Now, how to give up this attachment? This all has been discussed, but Swamiji more or less gives a summary of all the chapters that he had discussed earlier, or the ideas that was discussed earlier. So, how to give up attachment? We know selfishness, we know attachment. How to give up this? Again he says, there are two ways. The path for a non-believer of God. A person may not believe in God, but still he can practice karma yoga. If he does not believe in God, the thing is, he should believe himself, should have discrimination and take responsibility for all the actions that he does. That is one path. He will not depend on anything external, no external help, all by himself with his own buddhi shakti or strength of his mind. So that is one path. But Swamiji said, for those who believe in God, there is another way. Swamiji says, which is much less difficult. If you can believe in God, it is more easier than not to believe in God. So it's much less difficult. So Swamiji brings up, they give up the fruits of work unto the Lord, they work and never attach to the results. If you remember this, I have quoted earlier also, yat karoshi, yat ashnasi, yat juhosi, dadasi, yat tapasasi kauntaya, tat kurushva madarpanam. Sri Krishna says in the 9th chapter, Rajaguhya Rajavidya Yoga, Bhagavad Gita 9th. Yat karoshi, whatever you do, yat ashnasi means whatever you eat. And yat juhoshi means whatever you offer in oblation. And dadasi yat, whatever you do dana, gift. Yat tapasyasi, whatever you perform tapasya. Tat kurushva madaya, everything you do for my sake. If you have this idea, then what happens? Swamiji, of course, he gives the summary, not exact program, but he gives this summary. And wonderfully saying, there is one more shloka after this in Gita. Shri Krishna says there, Shubha Shubha Phale Phalerevam Mokshase Karma Bandhanaihi Sannyasa Yoga Yuktatma Vimukto Mamupaishyasi. Shubha 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 Ashubha Phalerevam. What happens? Suppose I perform an action but not oriented towards God. Then what happens? Attached to that work, if you are performing a good actions, you have a phala of punya phala. If it is a bad action, you have papa phala. Shubha and Ashubha will follow you eternally. But if you can orient your actions saying Yat Karoshi Adashnasi Madarpanam, then what happens? This Ashubha and Shubha, you are beyond, you transcend Shubha and Ashubha, and he says, you are free from karma bandhana. Moksha se karma bandhanaihi. No work, no fruits of action can bind you. Moksha se karma bandhanaihi. Sannyasa yoga yuktatma, with the idea of service, with the idea of tyaga, vairagya. In what sense? As we are offering the fruits of actions to the Lord, I am doing the sannyasa of karma, karma phala. I am doing karma phala tyaga. That is sannyasa only. With this sannyasa of karma phala, sannyasa yoga yuktatma, vimukto, you are not bound. Mamupaishyasi, you attain me. Sri Krishna is telling, if you can perform this action, you will attain me. How? Offer all the actions towards God. Here one caution I have to tell. To understand, you need a, shall we offer all bad karmas to also God? Yat karoshi dashnasi yat josi yat dadasi yat. Many people will ask this question. The moment I tell this, first question is, so many times we perform bad actions also, knowingly, unknowingly, consciously or unconsciously, due to our force, our samskaras of Purva Janma. We may perform bad actions. Then how to offer it? Then Shubha Shubha se Phalerevam. Will it apply? Here, first understand the point. Yat karoshi adashnasi. When you say tat kurushva madarpanam, when the actions or the action becomes conscious, when the man or the woman is conscious that he is trying to offer this work to Lord, no bad karma can be done through that idea. Because you are orienting towards, the orientation is towards God. When the orientation is convinced, when you are convinced of your orientation towards God, you immediately the mind says, are you going to offer this karma to Lord? Don't do it. Because I am going to offer this to Lord. Your mind will not allow you until unless we are based on this idea, we will do karma yoga, bad karma, but the moment mind gets convinced and says that every action that you do, whatever I do, not only every action, whatever I do, it's being, should be offered, then the mind says, hey, you are supposed to offer it to Lord. These karma should not be done. Actually, today morning I was in Mysore. Some 262 students were there. They asked me to come morning 9 o'clock, 1.5 hour session. Then I always, nowadays, I reduce my talk. When the young men or women are there, I reduce my talk. Of course, I spoke for 1 hour, more or less 1 hour. Then half an hour QA. Because I invent questions. Because after many lectures we experience, they many times misunderstand what you have told. It is better to take QA and answer their questions. We will be speaking in some plane and Swami and those things. They will be in another plane. They need something else, not what you say. So, you have to, it is better to invite questions when young college students are there. So, then the question because 1 hour you cannot speak much. You can give a tidbits and a tip of an iceberg of character building. In the beginning itself I told, If you want to achieve something great in life, the very first mandatory thing is self-discipline. I told no time to elaborate, but I have hinted you. If you want a particular answer for this question, you raise me doing QA. Then fortunately one girl stood up and said, Swamiji, you told how self-discipline lead to success. Or how self-discipline will lead to non-corruption. That was our actual question. Then I told, if you give value to time, you will always value somebody's money also. Because mind is oriented towards valuing all something great in life. When you develop the attitude, the idea of time in the sense, suppose I said, they are in Vivekananda youth movement. So at what time you get up in the morning? They said, Swamiji, we get up at 5. In summer holidays, at 8. So when you are in the hostel, you get up at 5. At home, you get up at 8. Then I said, if you are convinced that even if the sun rises in the north, you should not get up at 7. Even if the sun rises in the north, you should get up at 5. If you can value time, the orientation for the mind will be always towards higher thoughts, and that will not allow you to do anything that is not to be done by a gentleman or a gentlewoman. So what is required? Orientation of the mind. It needs orientation. Then what happens is, you will see the flow of energy in the body and the mind. Whatever ordinary persons can do in 1 hour, you can do it in 30 minutes. Because the flow of energy starts with the disciplining. Start with time. You give value time. You value somebody's time. Basically, value your time first. Have a time discipline. Begin with that. Then, you may not require to get up at 5. You yourself will go at 4. And some days you can start getting at 3 also. Because you have started disciplining yourself towards time. And the value will make more valuable by instilling energy in the body and mind. Flow of energy will start. In the same way, coming to Yatkarosh Yadashnasi, when mind is being oriented towards God, that I am offering all my actions towards God, then the same mind, after orientation, it says, never do bad karma, because I cannot offer this to the Lord. I have to offer that awareness. In the beginning, it's not possible. Of course, in the beginning, it's not possible. We can understand. But as the days goes, as we make it a habit to offer everything, then the mind itself instructs and says, no, you have done all this for so many days, no more these things in the future, not from today. So that's why you cannot ask, what about bad karma can we offer? No, it is not possible. You cannot do it if it is oriented properly. Now, Swamiji elaborates this idea, says, instead of the sacrifice of pouring oblations into the fire, means while we do yajna, we pour oblations into the fire. Instead of the sacrifice of pouring oblations into the fire, perform this one great sacrifice day and night. What is that? The sacrifice of your little self. This I, my, nanu. Instead of pouring oblations, doing Chandika Yaga, definitely do, but don't hold on it there only. Extend it. How to extend it? Perform this one great sacrifice day and night, the sacrifice of your little self. Taking the same idea, just one more instruction. If somebody says, or somebody has the question, are we, or can we, or is it possible to offer the fruits of actions to the Lord? Suppose say yes. Then second question, how to know that I have offered the fruits of actions to the Lord? How to identify that what I have offered wholeheartedly all the fruits of actions to the Lord? How to know it? The best indicator is, you will never think of tomorrow. The most simplest thing, not to complicate it into any greater philosophy, the best, simplest thing, you will never think of tomorrow. Suppose somebody has got a problem at home. What happens tomorrow? I have offered whatever doing Eskaroshi Adashnasi. Let Lord take it. Madarpanam. I have done for his Adarpanam. I will never think of tomorrow. That is the indication whether we are able to offer all fruits. If we are thinking, oh, what will happen? So many things, many problems will be there. For anybody, everybody in this world. A health issue, mental problem, depression, anything, many things are there. In family life, of course, at what time, what will come, we cannot know. Institutions also runs like that only, externally speaking. So how should we know that we are offering it to Lord? Never think of tomorrow. If we have offered, then that person will not think of tomorrow. That is the indicator actually. That's the proof of our offering our actions to the Lord. Then Swamiji's method of explaining, I want to just read. Idea is clear, but I want to read this sentence because same idea, the same method of explanation, he will say it to Vedanta also. For Karma Yoga also, he brings the same idea of explaining. How does Swamiji says? Day and night, let us renounce our seeming self until it becomes a habit with us to do so, until it gets into the blood, the nerves and the brain, and the whole body is ever a moment obedient to this idea of self-renunciation. How to make it a habit? Make it a habit in the sense this whole body becomes obedient to this idea of Yatkaroshi. This is Swamiji takes the same method of explaining even for Vedanta also. Let your thoughts and brains will tingle with the idea. Say that you are infinite strength, you are the Atman, the ever blissful. Swamiji says in Lectures from Kolmatolamar also. So he uses the same expression for here, Karma Yoga also. Go then into the midst of the battlefield with a roaring cannon and the din of war, and you will find yourself to be free and at peace. If Yat Karoshi Adashnasi happens in actuality, otherwise not. Then we should think, what shall I cook? Finally. Now, Swamiji brings, after explaining these two methods, giving the selfishness, giving up attachment, is through Etkaroshi Edashnasi. Non-believer, it's of course, that is his path. But what is the value of duty now? He has already, what is duty has explained in the beginning chapters itself. He gives a bit of summary here also. Swamiji, it is, of course, duty is required for a beginner, but not for a karma yogi who has treaded that path for a longer time. Because to avoid brutality, you have to take recourse to the idea of duty. Once you are ahead in the karma yoga, then you have to drop the idea of duty. There is no duty. Swamiji says, the only true duty is to be unattached and to do work as free beings, to give up all work unto God. All our duties are His. Blessed are we that we are ordered out here. Then Swamiji says, what is duty in sense? Attachment has become established. When attachment becomes established, we call it duty. So, I don't want to explain, much time is not there. I will just conclude, but give some thought over all these ideas of Swamiji. When attachment, as he has explained, I don't want to read. You just read, continued. Attachment has become established. We call it duty. Somebody married, they say, duty of a husband, duty of a wife, duty of a father, duty of a mother. What do you understand by that? Attachment established become duty. When it is acute, we call it disease. When it is chronic, we call it nature. It is a disease. So openly Swamiji is telling, Bapre, what would have, Americans would have thought it here in Swami Vivekananda. He has given this lecture in America, not in India. That too in 1894-95. We call it nature, it is a disease. So when attachment becomes chronic, we baptize it baptism is done in Christianity. The moment he is taken into the Christian religion, he is baptized first with a sprinkling holy water on him. So, when attachment becomes chronic, we baptize it with a high sounding name of duty. Duty is good to the extent that it checks brutality. Here, Karma Yogis must throw this idea of duty overboard. There is no duty for you and me. Why should you be compelled? I am reading in between, not continuously, I am reading in between. Why should you be compelled? Everything that you do under compulsion goes to build up attachment. Why should you have any duty? Resign everything unto God. In this tremendous fiery furnace, where the fire of duty scorches everybody, drink this cup of nectar and be happy. Actually here, you should always question every sentence to get a proper answer. You have to stand and say, if Swamiji says, if you baptized the attachment, it is called duty, then is there not any duty for a husband or a mother or a father or a wife? As long you feel that it is me who is doing all these things, then you are bound to perform your duty towards your wife or children. The moment you transcend after performing your duty very sincerely, there will be evolution in the soul, evolution in the idea with your mental level. Once you evolve, then you feel it is not me, it is through his will that everything goes on. Then the duty itself will be dropped. You cannot hold on to duty. What duty is there for a Swami in Ramakrishna mission? If I want, we can walk out. What duty? Is there any compulsion that there is no compulsion for me to give this lecture on Karma Yoga. No compulsion. If I say I don't come, who will ask me to? Swamiji should come. I don't come. I will not come. What compulsion? Compulsion leads to attachment. Never do anything out of compulsion. This is my duty. No, there is nothing like that. As long we have attachment towards body, you should have the idea of duty. Once the idea that it's now, or your bhava towards body gets reduced, your idea of duty will also be slowly, in a evolutionary way, it also gets dissolved or dropped off. So as long we have the attachment towards body, so long we have the duty. Otherwise, there is no duty for anybody. So, how does he work? He works out of love. He feels I should serve. He will serve. He may serve his wife. He may serve his father. He may serve his children. How does she or he do it? I love these children. I feel it is God in them. I serve them. I love them. I do it. There is no duty for me to perform this. When we were young, we used to tell, Nimma Kartavya. Then we understood it's a wrong way of interpreting. Is it not? We have told our parents. Is it not? Definitely, at least I have told. It's your duty. No. How can there be a duty? No duty. Wherever there is compulsion, it comes out of attachment. When there is no compulsion, it is always pure love. It is always through service. That's why, and now Swamiji, he elaborates a bit on this idea of duty and comes to the point where Swamiji says, the greatest men in the world have passed away unknown. When you are in this path, slowly you move towards knowing yourself. More you are towards this idea of knowing oneself, you will slowly be away from the world. It happens. So in that sense, when you leave everything, in the sense that you are not attached, you don't have any duty, you evolve. Then the greatest men in the world have passed away unknown. Now give attention to the next sentence that I am going to read. The Buddhas and the Christ that we know are but second-rate heroes in comparison with the greatest men of whom the world knows nothing. What you call avatara is also second-rate heroes compared to those men who are unknown to the world, who lived the life complete renunciation but not known to the world at all. What would be my thinking is, what would be Swamiji's idea of those unknown men, because we don't know who are they. We are unable to understand Buddha, unable to understand Sri Ramakrishna, unable to understand the Holy Mother, unable to understand Christ in a truer sense, in a fuller sense, not truer, in a fuller sense. But Swamiji speaks of those persons who are beyond this Buddha and Christ. And what we know, because he explains why. Hundreds of these unknown heroes have lived in every country working silently. Silently they live and silently they pass away. So, when Swamiji refers this, through Karma Yoga, we have to attain to that state of unknowing everybody. No duty here. We are there in Ramakrishna Mission, you are there as a devotee. But neither you should have any duty to come to Ramakrishna Mission every day. Without that I don't get peace. I have to one day transcend that. Getting peace is here, not going. Don't misunderstand me. This is the highest stage I am telling you. I am telling with respect to unknown hearers who are passed away silently. Then the devotee should stay at home, should pass away unknowingly. Nobody should know, because he or she has understood what is within themselves. Why should we make a fuss of our sadhana? According to Swamiji is expecting that. So, Swamiji says, no claims for themselves and establish no schools or systems in their name. These unknown heroes. Their whole nature shrinks from such a thing. They are the pure sattvikas who can never make any stir but only melt down in love. These men just melt down in love. They don't create any stir. If you see the life of Sri Ramakrishna itself, there is nothing except God. Sri Ramakrishna says, I know nothing except God. He said in Gospel, Sri Ramakrishna says, I know nothing but God. Actually, in one of the talks, revered Bhuteshanji Maharaj. Generally, those times, generally President Maharaj, you can go and have a conversation with President Maharaj in at least 1 or 2 days in a week. Training center brahmacharis can go. Other Swamis also can accompany. Go to President Maharaj quarters. Then somebody was asking question to revered Bhuteshanji Maharaj. Maharaj, what about Karma Yoga? What about Ramakrishna Mission? What about this Karma? Many have many complications, is it not? It's not so easy to glide through Karma and attain freedom. It's not so easy. You may say we don't have duty, but the moment you go at home, if you don't cook, somebody will kick you. Either you have to get it from Zomato or Swiggy if you have money. Otherwise, nobody will leave you. 1 or 2 days you can manage. Other days you have to cook. You say no duty. So, practically speaking, there are many things that we have to work out. These are all the ideas that are there in the Swamiji giving ideas, but we have to work out many things and come to an understanding where it is converted into conviction. Only when it is conviction, then you start practicing seriously. Otherwise, it is not possible. So, regarding these things, they asked a question to Revered Maharaj. Then he said, I know only about God, nothing else, he said. Then he quoted the Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna says in the Kathamrita Maharaj, Kathamrita Thakur Bolchen, Thakur Bhagavan Chadam Kichi Janina. So I also say, I don't know nothing about except God. He said this. Maharaj has said this in the conversation, Training Center Brahmacharis. So this can lead to, the idea, what I am going to say is, there are few Frasikas who can never make a stir but only melt down in love. It always not necessary to come to society and to conduct satsangas. If somebody is interested, let them do. But there are other aspects of life. There are men. Fortunately, we have seen them. More purer, more sattvic, more sadhana oriented than what we have seen on the outside sadhus, where devotees are unaware of those sadhus. Because once I started going out lecturing, many people, many sadhus quote some of the few Swamis who have done great work in Karnataka and say, you come, you won't come. There is a different science in this. Don't apply what you know. That is good for you. What is good for the world, he knows and arranges things accordingly. So don't compare sadhus for that matter. You are fortunate. to come in touch with the Swami, good. But there are much more better sadhus, which we have seen, unaware and unknown, staying somewhere. One Swami was there in Belur Math. He was such a great Shastragna. But what was his service in Belur Math? Posting letters by pasting stamps. Nobody knew he had read a wonderful Mimamsa. He was a staunch, he knew, he was a great scholar in the field of Mimamsa. Nobody knew. He was just posting all the letters. Earlier, now email. Earlier, every letter has to be written for all the correspondence. He used to do that correspondence and paste a stamp and post it. Nobody knew he was the greatest Mimamsaka. He used to teach in his room, but not in a public. Never for devotees. Because his plain, nobody can understand. So this is the highest what Swamiji says. But fortunately, we have seen. Not stayed longer, but fortunately, not only in mission, but some apart from mission also. Some sadhus. And coming, just as I remember, when you say this yat karoshi yadashnasi, yadyosi dadasi yat, because I remember Bhuteshanji Maharaj, I want to quote one more incident. Maharaj, when he had a problem with his heart, then doctor diagnosed and they suggested open heart surgery. Of course, there are some institutional procedures that has to be followed. Because he was the president of the order, it goes to general secretary also for the sake of information and further actions. Then doctors and these sevaks went and said, Maharaj, these doctors have decided we have to conduct open heart surgery. Do you agree for that? Then he said, this body and mind does not belong to me. You do whatever you want. That is, you feel good. I will not take any decision regarding this. You take decision whatever is necessary for this body. If you feel it is good for the organization. Unake jignasha koro, korle koro, amar kichu. So that was their state of mind while working. So that's why here says, without having a stir, these sattvikas will perform. They are the pure sattvikas who can never make any stir, but only melt away in pure love. So, even here, Yatishwaranji Maharaj used to say, when you say an organization with respect to Sri Ramakrishna, Sri Ramakrishna, if suppose, let us say, for our, just as a logical thinking, if he comes now, can he join Ramakrishna mission? Never. He cannot be limited into an organization. He is beyond everything. We should understand everything properly, in a better way, not for misunderstanding. I don't say then we should not, Arvina sadhus should not, sannyasin should not join. No, I am not telling all those things. But there is a way and understanding where you should not limit yourself for a limited idea of organizing. No. We are here to organize, to transcend organization. So, these men, even Yatishwaranji Maharaj used to say, in the beginning you need an organization to stand, but once you stand, organization should need you. Organization should need you at a later stage, but you should not be at the same cradle stage even during when you die. In the beginning stage, of course, but at a later stage, organization should need you. In the beginning, you need it. Later stage, it should need you. You should not depend on that. That's why the Swamiji is telling much beyond all these things. And of course, now he takes the example of, I have seen one such yogi who lives in a cave in India. He mentions Pavahari Baba. He says, if an animal bites one of his arms, he is ready to give it to his other arm also and say, it is the Lord's will. He refers to Pavahari Baba, where he has seen such a yogi who has nothing for himself. Of course, Swamiji, even when as Vivekananda, before going west, he even questions, why don't you come out and preach? Then he says, I am not doing it here. Pahari Baba questions. I am not going it here now. Now, in the second step, there are men who are more little bit of Rajasic capacity. Now, these are all pure Sattvikas who melt in love, who are unknown to the world. Second step, there are men who are more little who have activity or combative natures. They, even Swamiji says, in the life of Gautama Buddha, we notice him constantly saying that he is the 25th Buddha. Saying that, Swamiji says, 24 Buddhas we didn't knew. No. Who all passed away, 24. We know only the 25th Buddha, whom is Siddhartha into Gautama Buddha. So we don't know about 24 other Buddhas. They passed away silently. So, these active workers, however, this is referred by Sri Ramakrishna also in the Gospel. The active workers, however good, still a little remnant of ignorance left in them. Whenever nature has yet some impurities left in it, then alone can we work. If we want to work, there should be some amount of impurity, otherwise it's not possible. Sri Ramakrishna says, you have to mix a little bit of non-gold or a metal. If you want to convert the gold into a necklace, some mixture should be there, otherwise you cannot get a necklace. So some impurity is there in all active workers. So beyond them is the greatest men of the world, who are 100% Sattvikas, who are unknown to the world. Even when it comes to Sri Ramakrishna says, Bhagavan Shankara had a Gnani Aham, because without having that idea of Gnani Aham, he cannot compose Bhashyas. He needs some support. For that support, what he needs? It's a Gnani Aham, a Bhakta Aham. Of course, it's a ripe ego. They say it's a ripe ego, unripe ego, underripe. It's a ripe ego. Without that idea, no amount of work cannot be done on this earth. Even if you come to Holy Mother, she had to take recourse to Radha. Without her, Mother could have not stayed there. So you need something support in this world for all active workers. So that's why Swamiji says, the highest men cannot work. The highest men cannot work in this world. Those who are working have their remnant of impurity left in them. They categorizing and building what we should understand, we have more of ignorance, less of sattva. Because we work more actively. So what happens is, we have more of ignorance, less of sattva. The more of sattva, work has to reduce as you go on. Never we can hold on to work. Now I will conclude. That's why I told you, because due to shortage of time, I am just giving a last idea. Then Swamiji concludes, who can live a moment, breathe a moment, if this all-powerful one does not will it? Actually, before that, Swamiji says, in the presence of an ever-active providence, who notes even the sparrows fall? How can man attach any importance to his own work? Will it not be a blasphemy to do so when we know that he is taking care of the minutest things in the world? We have only to stand and revere before him, saying, thy will be done. That's why to come to this idea, man needs so many experiences. To come to an idea that thy will be done, he needs lot of experience, of course accompanied by sadhana also. Then he will attain this stage. It needs some experiences also. Now concluding, Swamiji says, who can live a moment, breathe a moment, if this all-powerful one does not will it? Then this is also from a Shastra. Then second he quotes, through his command the wind blows, the sun shines, the earth lives, and the dead stalks upon the earth. He is all in all lives. This is from Taittiriya. Swamiji is quoting from the Upanishad. This is from Taittiriya. Bishasmad vataf bhote bishodeti sudeha mrutyir dhavati panchama iti. It comes in Taittiriya. This through his command the wind blows, the sun shines, the earth leaves, the dead stalks upon the earth. He is all in all. This is from Taittiriya Upanishad. So finally Swamiji concludes, we can only worship him Give up all fruits of work. Do good for its own sake. Then alone will come perfect non-attachment. Once you offer fruits of actions, then only perfect non-attachment will come. The bonds of the heart will thus break, and we shall reap perfect freedom. This freedom is indeed the goal of Karma Yoga. So, not doing karma. The goal of Karma Yoga is transcend time, space and causation itself. When you transcend time, space, causation, for this world, you are not at all there. You are gone. For the sake of this world, you are gone. What about this burden? You shall be served. Hey, chinta chodo yaar. Somebody will take care of this world. Of course, these are all a stage and understanding. Until unless you are not convinced, you cannot take a step beyond. Until unless you have lot of confusions, you are bound by duty. Until unless you have conflicts within, you have duty. Until unless you feel that you are struggling, you have duty. Until unless you feel you are not convinced that God alone does thy will be done, you have duty. After performing all these things, you will come to a stage where you feel definitely, I say definitely you will feel there is nothing from your part that has to be done in this world. It's a state, I am telling you. It's a state of mind. When you feel that, you can be in a sangha, you can be in a family, but you will never have the idea of duty at all. You will do everything out of love. I say it's a state. It will not come by reading, it will not neither come by anything external. It will come from within. Then that conviction will grow. Of course, out of conviction only all this comes. Whatever Swamiji says, there are many things in this. Please give a lot of idea and thought on all these things. We due to our limitations of 50 minutes, 55 minutes and of only twice in a month of discussing Karma Yoga, we have completed all the 8 chapters of Karma Yoga as of today. I was a bit fast today because I thought I should conclude this Sunday. And regarding next Sunday, we will intimate you later. Because should I start a new yoga or will some Swami will take up Sunday session is also doubtful. Let us see how things will go on from next Sunday. We will intimate you through our WhatsApp group. With this, we will conclude Karma Yoga. Reading of Karma Yoga, not performing of Karma Yoga. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.